It's a gray screen now. It went from black to gray. Oh, I can have the volume down, but... well, what image are you showing so I can recognize it when we see it? Or is it streaming a gray screen right now? Alright. Okay.
Yeah, I noticed the live feed that we did on Wednesday got into 3 parts instead of 2.
Oh, those were different parts. I thought that, because I saw they were all the same length, at least the ones that, what I saw was the same length, so I thought it was like 3 copies of it. Really? Is it me? I'm not seeing anything. Let me refresh. Let me refresh. Mad is playing Doctor Who, City of the Daleks. Okay, now I know it's working, so now I can go ahead and tweet. Right. Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to an Unearthly podcast. Today, we're talking about Idiot's Lantern Part 2. Music.
What?
You disagree?
Did I watch the wrong thing?
We should be talking. Right? But yes, I did call the Bells of St. John Idiot's Lantern Part 2. So Flynn, did you want to go ahead and do the recap, or we're gonna?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the basic premise is that Wi-Fi is attacking the people. So we start the episode with a guy warning us about this strange new Wi-Fi that's popping up and saying, "Oh, if this pops up, don't click it, don't click it, because if it does, they'll suck you into the Wi-Fi. They've been collecting souls, and you're dead within 24 hours, and all this." And then we find, oh, that guy was in the Wi-Fi. Shock. Anyway, so then we glimpse into
If anybody
Clara.
recognizes the language or whatever if that's a reference to anything or anything, let us know in the chat, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. We're paying attention to all of those.
Yes. So then we see Clara's life, where she's the nanny for this family. And she's trying to get on the internet and has no computer skills, doesn't know how to get on the internet, and so starts phoning a helpline. Well, then we go to the year 1207, where a bunch of monks go to... a monk goes to another monk and says, "Oh, the bells of St. John are ringing! Oh, we must contact... what's his name? I forget what exactly they say. Oh, some call him the Mad Monk. Oh, he's definitely not a monk. And it's the Doctor!" Big shock. The bells of St. John, of course, refers to the TARDIS, the phone in the TARDIS, which should not be ringing.
And of course, the little sticker on the TARDIS that says
Yes,
St. John
St. John.
Ambulance.
Yeah, the fake phone that doesn't ring, that Christopher Eccleston made a point of mentioning was a fake phone that can't ring.
Mm-hmm. So the Doctor answers, and it's Clara asking how to use the internet. As the I love this line here. The Doctor says, "It's 12:07. I've got 3:30 over here." Anyway, And so the doctor quickly rushes his way over to Clara's house, but Clara's already clicked on the do not click Wi-Fi, and the doctor tries to find his way in and tell her, oh, it's me, it's the doctor, and she doesn't believe him, or she doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, so locks him outside, and then this little girl comes from upstairs, and it turns out to be this weird Wi-Fi base station and sucks her soul in. So then Doctor comes in, rescues Clara, and then what happens? Rescues Clara, and we also see the bad guys who are like this kind of corporate company.
Damn it, Matt, don't show my note to self on the stream.
Who are kind of this corporation that collects and harvests these souls for an unseen client. So the doctor then is talking with Clara, and actually she's unconscious, so like any good doctor, goes up to her room and searches through her private things. Sees that she has a book of 101 places to go, or 101 places to see, and looks through the book, and oh sweetness. So then they talk and they converse. Doctor remarks how odd it is that she's a nanny. Why is she a nanny? Isn't that little Victorian? But then the spoonheads, or the Wi-Fi base stations, start attacking again. And so we get an exciting sequence on a plane, and then stuff happens, and it's breakfast the next morning. I'm skipping through here. And Clara now realizes that she has all this information about computers, which she didn't have before. So clearly the base stations have rewritten these people's minds. So she, now having all this information, starts hacking the people, whatever, so try to find out where they are. And while she's doing that, the doctor talks to the enemy and starts revealing all these, they have a conversation, and the enemy demonstrates, how much control they have over people. Meanwhile, Clara gets attacked, or gets sucked in by a base station copy of the doctor, and the doctor comes in and realizes, and then the doctor goes to where they were, because Clara managed to find out where they were, using an anti-grav motorbike, and goes in and crashes into the main their base, I guess, and then we find out, it wasn't the doctor, it was the spoonhead doctor that was on the motorbike, and through a clever little bit, sucks in the main leader, so they have to download, because Clara was integrated into the whole drive, they have to download the whole cloud in order for her to get back, so he integrates her into the drive, so now they have to download the whole thing. And they do, and then what happens? And then I think, Unit storms the area, the client, who we now realize is the Great Intelligence, disconnects from the base, and life returns to normal. At the end of the episode, we learn a bit more about Clara, in that she has things she wants to do, but since her mother died, became a nanny, and still wants to do those things, and so the doctor's all like, you should come with me. Well, maybe tomorrow. See you at 7. And so then she leaves, and yeah, that's the episode. Skipping over some things here and there.
I would have to say this is probably my second or third favorite Moffat era episode of all time.
This is probably my favorite episode since the 11th hour.
This has definitely been my favorite episode of the last 2 years.
The subtitle for this episode, in my opinion, is How Moffat Got His Groove Back.
And I mean, I'm.
It's also it's
the rest of season 7. So
the subtitle could also be where the budget for the first 4 episodes of the season actually went.
Anybody else besides me
second half of the season
noticed they redid the opening, at least the opening music again? There's more bass to it.
Flynn was mentioning the music. I was noticing the visuals. I think the way they show Matt's face, I think, is different than it was in the Snowmen.
I would have to compare the two side by side. But one thing I
the
noticed
credits are still too messy for me to really notice a main difference.
I was looking at the rest of it. The rest of it seems to be, by and large, okay. My favorite part of it, actually, is the part where they actually show the episode title, because it's really reminiscent of the Third Doctor's old...
And fourth, yeah. Third and fourth.
No, the original third opening that had that same coloration.
I think, yes, it's like a mix between the coloration of the first third with the time tunnel of the second, third, fourth Doctors.
Yes.
Yeah,
I really like that, too.
The reason I say that is because I'm pretty sure in the Snowmen, his face, it did that whole classic fade, not exactly a fade, but it fade in and fade out, whereas this time it kind of was just part of the nebula that we flew through.
No, it was part of the nebula that...
Was it?
Snowmen, yes.
Okay.
So I think it is the same opening animation, but the music, I swear the bass has been amped.
Yes, the bass. There's more distinct bass, and the main melody has been altered. I noted this when the episode first aired. The main melody line used to it was a and then it did like this really cool fade out. It's really cool before they continue to the next melody. Now it's a continuous thing, and it's a different synth sound than it was.
Okay.
These are minor things, but I noticed them.
It just seems to be a minor retweaking. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure it went back to recomposing. I think somebody just went through and did some things on the mix.
Yeah,
Right.
Definitely. The melody has definitely been redone. The rest of it just sounds like basically what it was.
How do you guys think? I would say this probably falls out throughout Doctor Who themes. I'd say it falls somewhere in the middle. Not my least favorite, but definitely not quite in the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the new stuff since 2005, I still think I like the third, fourth series better.
Mm-hmm. This would
but this is getting up there.
I would say this is up there with the first series ones that I like.
The music on the Snowman version, Matt, was the exact same as it had been the previous series. They just changed the animation and added some effects.
Was it really? I thought it was different.
I think the music was a little different.
I can remember. Any changes I saw were because the background effects had been changed.
At the very least, they took out the sound of the lightning bolts, obviously.
Well, yeah,
there also wasn't a choir, and there wasn't the melody line was correct. It was wrong in the original version. Not the melody line, the bass line. So the rhythm of the bass line has been wrong, but it was fixed for the Snowmen. Yes, the episode.
Yep.
So
the most I have wrong with this episode is nitpicks. I mean, it's really, truly nitpicks.
And unlike Asylum of the Daleks, there's not going to be enough nitpicks where we spend 45 minutes arguing if there's enough nitpicks to destroy the episode or not. That's not the case here.
Things that Moffat has been missing for the last 2 years. The Doctor got to be awesome.
Well,
instead of the companions being awesome, the Doctor just kind of muddles through.
Oh, actually,
and acts like a 4-year-old.
Since the third Doctor's already been mentioned, I'm going to use that to segue into this. Moffat mentioned at one point, the Doctor can't be Bond, but this episode would be if he tried to be Bond. Now, I would say the third Doctor I thought was the Doctor being Bond, but
yes, the third Doctor was James Time Lord.
This is Matt Smith's attempt to be John Pertwee, I'd say. And I'd say it turned out fairly well.
I would personally argue that the third Doctor era is the era trying to be Bond, but the Doctor not. I mean, he's the most Bond-ish, I guess, of the Doctors we have, but he's definitely he's too.
Right. Yeah, we're not saying like.
No, he's way too.
He's the super spy guy.
I don't know. There's a lot of differences. If you had to watch Pertwee, especially in some of the more, I think really the best summary of the Pertwee era is, and of course there's another me using. Oh hey, speaking of Phil Sandifer, which I was just about to mention, his book on the Third Doctor has been published today. So if any of you are interested in crazy Blakean analyses of the Three Doctors and other such glories, check out the book. It's available on Amazon, Amazon Kindle, and other ebook formats. So yes, it's $5 for the ebooks and $14 for the actual book. Yay!
So how much is he paying you for advertising? Because we only have like 2 viewers most times on Twitch.
Yeah, I know. I'm just. Yeah. Yes. So,
true.
Yeah.
My point is, whatever he's spending you on advertising, he might not be getting his money's worth in terms of raw.
No, I'm doing this out of the goodness of my own heart. Anyway, but his description of the Third Doctor era is...
And that's right, he can send Flynn a check anytime he wishes. Go ahead, recite the address.
But his description of the Third Doctor era is that it's two sides, where we have the action side, which is the James Bond, the Mind of Evil, Masters of Death, Spirit from Space, that's the deal, and the glam era, which is more insane images and really crazy ideas and all sorts of really weird stuff going on, which is more Claws of Axos, Three Doctors, that sort of deal, which is crazy side and action side. I think that describes it well. So to an extent, we have Pertwee is half James Bond, and then half really crazy David Bowie stuff. So like Bond and Bowie, I think that's what it is. Anyway.
God. I have to kill you now, Flynn.
What?
I'm just imagining what would have happened if BBC had tried to hire David Bowie as the Doctor. And it's hurting. It's really hurting.
There's a guest entry on the Artist Forum. Speculating. And I will link that now. Anyway, so the episode itself, today's episode, Bells of St. John. One of the things this is the most, and speaking as someone who has liked pretty much all of Series 7 so far, and has liked a lot of the new series.
Oops.
I think this is the most Doctor Who episode we've had in about maybe that I can remember in the last 2 years. I say this because one of which is the actual plot itself is so perfect to Doctor Who. It is basically Doctor Who does Wi-Fi and takes something ordinary and normal and makes it sinister again, which is just such a Doctor Who premise. And then the resolution is so much... Like, my favorite conception of the Doctor is that he's this guy that will come in, see the status quo, and completely tear it apart and send the whole thing crumbling down. This is the Doctor of the Sunmakers, the Happiness Patrol, of Dalek Invasion of Earth, even so much, he'll take the status quo and rip it apart. And that's what he does here. He literally attacks the system from within. He uses their own technology and stuff to literally hack it and tear it apart from inside. I love that. And I haven't seen that in recent memory in the new series.
It's been a while since we've had a good corporate evil style.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the last time we saw, the closest thing we got to it in the RTD era was Torchwood.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one part corporation, one part secret organization, so it kind of doesn't count.
Well, that's what this.
Before that, I think we have to go as far back as the caves of Androzani before we see corporate evil.
Well, I would actually argue Happiness Patrol. That is a corporation.
Hold up,
it's a different corporation, but it's that same kind of feel, I think. It's actually more government than corporation, but it's the same kind of working infrastructure.
That's kind of along the same lines as Torchwood, then.
Bad Wolf.
The Bad Wolf Corporation. Okay.
That's not. Yeah, I think so.
I could see that if it wasn't the Daleks actually behind it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Or the I forget the name of the episode, but the people who were running the satellite before they took over with the Jagrafest.
Oh, the long game. Yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm.
With Simon Pegg, right?
Yeah, Simon Pegg did one of the characters. Yes.
I like that episode. Anyway.
Yeah, I like the fact that we could now say that Scotty was on Doctor Who.
See, now you're making me sad because now I just wish that. Oh God! Of course, I always forget names when I'm trying to speak them. You know who I'm talking about, though.
Nope.
Randy knows what I'm
I
talking.
have no clue where you're going with this.
No
Bill.
clue where you're going, Bill. You have to actually remember things.
The real Scotty.
James Doohan.
Thank you. That he never made Doctor Who.
That would have been interesting, but of course, after Star Trek, Jimmy Doohan got typecast for the rest of his career.
Mm-hmm. But he could have been like an engineer in an episode like The Impossible Planet or whatever. Just a background engineer.
That'd be weird.
No,
anyway,
he was dead by then.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if he had survived to it.
Yeah. But also going back to that, if you remember the broadcast we did on the Snowmen, I was completely bitching about how they wasted a talent like Richard E. Grant on a one-off character. Guess what? He's not one-off anymore.
Yeah, I really like that.
And in fact, it seems to be leading up to he's going to be a recurring bad guy now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is going to be cool. We need a recurring bad guy.
And you know what? I really like the Snowman. I really like this episode. And I never thought I would say this, but this is an example with the new series taking a villain I did not care about and making it one of now, just for these 2 episodes, it's a villain I'm really interested to see what they do with.
Yeah, when you see the Snowman, it's like, ugh. But then when you follow this up immediately right afterwards, it's like, oh.
And that's actually kind of genius on Moffat because you wouldn't expect him to do the same villain twice in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's also okay.
Oh,
the original. I haven't seen all of the original Abominable Snowman episodes, which is Abominable Snowman and Web of Fear. I haven't seen them all, but from what I've seen, they're just so okay. It's robotic Yeti, and that's about it. This is such an example of taking what's a relatively concept and seeing what all you can do with it. And without even using the Yeti at this point.
Yeah, he hasn't even touched Yeti
really
yet.
Nice. Which makes me excited to see what they do with the Ice Warriors. Because the Ice Warriors are another villain, which I don't like, frankly.
I've always loved the Ice Warriors. I thought they just looked badass to begin with.
I think the most interesting thing they ever did was become good guys, which speaks to how well I don't think they work as villains. But I'm excited to see what they do with them now. Now that they've kind of revamped the Great Intelligence to be this really interesting... Really excited to see what they do. I'm really interested to see what they do with that, and with the Zygons, which were interesting villains to begin with, and now we'll be in the 50th. So yeah.
Speaking of Zygons, picture the Zygons for everyone watching the feed. Haha.
Yeah, considering the fact that the Ice Warriors, I think, were at least in there twice. They not
4 times, I think.
4 times. Okay, so they were actually a reoccurring villain.
Mm-hmm.
The Zygons are a one-off from the 4th Doctor era.
But it
was also a very popular story too.
But they are the most popular one-off monster that the series has ever had.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a single other one-off.
But that's not really my point. My point is that they don't really have a lot to work with.
And they don't have a lot to work against either.
Novels and side stories that people have made.
However, I would also argue though that with just Terror of the Zygons does more with the characters within that episode than say the Yeti stories do with over 2 episodes, or 2 longer episodes. Zygons they're very interesting. There's a lot conceptually that you can really pull with, just from their look, from their thing, which is that they're shapeshifters. There's a lot you can do with. They're very potent villains in a way that I personally don't think the Ice Warriors are. But I'm excited to see if they want to. I'm excited to see them prove me wrong.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do this week, and then let's see, is it, I think, not this upcoming episode, but the week after that we're going to have the Ice Warriors?
Yeah, I think so. Week after is the Ice Warriors. I wonder if this whole series, starting from the beginning with Series 7, with starting off with Asylum of the Daleks, which, among many things, was at least, I hope we can agree it was an attempt at reinvigorating the Daleks in some way, even if we disliked it. I hope we can agree.
There's a lot to dislike about it, but at the same time, they did some effective things with the Daleks themselves.
In that regard, I think it was more successful than Victory.
Well, but starting with that, it feels like this series has been there's an ongoing theme of reinvigorating past Doctor Who monsters.
So that would mean that the one after that was attempt to reinvigorate the dinosaurs?
Maybe.
It's a better episode than dinosaurs.
We've already had...
If only the dinosaurs were villains.
I'm not really sure whether Angels in Manhattan qualifies at that, because the Angels were not the main focus of that episode. But we've had the Abominable Snow... The Great Intelligence being redone in the Snowmen. We're going to have the Ice Warriors. We're already having a rewriting of the Cybermen with Neil Gaiman's episode. And now we've had the Zygons announced for the 50th anniversary. And I think we still have the Master for the season, right?
I haven't heard about the Master.
The only thing I've heard of with the Master for the 50th anniversary season is Big Finish.
No, it was announced this was a long time ago. They did
announce.
It
wasn't a rumor?
No, it was an actual announcement. Benedict Cumberbatch was...
Is that...
No, that was debunked.
It was
debunked.
Really?
Stephen Moffat came out and said, no, Benedict Cumberbatch is not going to be the Master. John Cinema is still the Master.
I was going to say, unless the guy who's killed by the chest burster, what's his name, John Hurt, I believe. I'm like, unless he was going to be the Master, I hadn't heard anything.
No, I had seen rumors on that, and then I saw the official debunk on it.
I never. That's odd. I never saw that. Okay.
We know what
so I'm wrong then.
Okay. Do we know what role Hurt is supposed to play?
No, we don't.
We just know he's going to be there.
I think so. Yeah.
In what?
In the 50th special.
Yeah, we don't have a full list yet. Although we do have David Warner coming up in Cold War.
Yes.
David Warner.
And we have Diana Rigg and her daughter in one episode too. I forget which one that is.
David Warner. I haven't seen him.
I think that's Hyde. No. The Crimson Horror. That's going to be the one right before the Cybermen.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Diana Rigg since the old Mystery days.
Ooh.
Last thing I saw her in was the Bond film. So yeah, it's been a while.
But let's see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a big David Warner fan, so
Me too.
That's going to be interesting. And Nicholas Briggs doing alien voices again.
Well,
I really wish they could get some other people to do monster voices other than Nicholas Briggs.
And I mean,
it's getting to the point where they're just casting computer programs that'll do the voice, and he just happens to be the person they want to actually, to do the inflection.
To an extent, I think he's really, really brilliant at what he does, so I don't mind him. But at the same time, I really liked in the classic series where you would have high-pitched Dalek and really, really low-voiced Dalek.
Right.
I liked that.
And they would have different, like, it wouldn't just be a different tone; it would be an actual different voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right now, the robotic.
Hear, like one of them had an accent from a different area.
Right.
And I think usually it was like Michael Wisher and Roy Skelton. I think.
No, Roy Skelton was one of them. Michael Wisher was Davros.
No, but Michael Wisher also voiced Daleks in a couple episodes. He's done double duty.
But, yeah, as it is right now with robotic villains, it's starting to feel like a Bethesda game, because it feels like they're using the same 2 or 3 voices all the time. They really do need to liven up the robotic enemy voices.
Like we're watching Dragon Ball Z, where all of the high testosterone characters are voiced by the same man.
I don't recall that problem, but okay.
At least the English dub anyway. I don't know about the Japanese.
And we have Warwick Davis coming up too.
Really?
Yes, that's correct. I forget which
He's
episode.
playing a character in Nightmare in Silver.
Cool. Oh, that's the Cyberman one. Cool.
Yep, that's Gaiman.
Yep, he's actually has been quoted as saying that it's a thrill to be in Doctor Who, especially in an episode with a Cyberman.
We've got Vastra, Jenny, and Strax twice, and we've got River in the finale.
Oh, really?
And I don't know if this was a rumor or not, but I saw someone somewhere say that Alex Kingston would not be in Series 8. So either this episode or her or the 50th, whichever, it might be her last episode.
Thank you. Thank you.
A cry of thanks came from all that hated River. Although
But
then they'll
let's-
probably just cast a younger version of her now.
This episode, yeah, it moved good. It felt good. It was really a good episode. There were only a couple of minor things that left me questioning. I mentioned these to the guys earlier. I'll mention them here again for the record. 1, the Wi-Fi symboling. If I was going to have Wi-Fi that I want people to click on so that I could download them, I would have, it labeled free public Wi-Fi. So people would be using their computers, go, oh, okay, click. And hey, look, I can hack their brains.
And then you'd have everyone in the area suddenly going out, and that would be kind of noticeable.
Except for the fact that, remember, they could pick and choose.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, honestly, if I were the Great Intelligence, I'd hack the 4G before the Wi-Fi.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, then you got to move up to 4G. The problem with 4G is every network has its own 4G.
True. But it's still everywhere.
So really, you get only
you don't need
people
to be
using
one.
AT&T, and only then if they were in the right broad.
It would depend on what it did. Like 4G is everywhere, whereas Wi-Fi generally is only within a bubble around a house. You pretty much, it's almost impossible to walk onto a
It
street corner
depends
and not see
on the
4G.
locations. Wi-Fi is wherever you can broadcast it from. Wherever you can broadcast it from. They, as a company, are apparently putting up Wi-Fi transmitters and base units. So they control the signal. 4G is broadcast by a phone company. Therefore, you would have to have purchased and controlled the phone company to control the 4G network. You had to have people subscribe to your 4G network for you to get access. All in all, it's cheaper and quicker just to put up a whole bunch of unsecured wireless ports. I'm just surprised they labeled them with a bizarre freaking alien name instead of free Wi-Fi, click here.
Right.
Well, maybe that's what it translates to, and the Great Intelligence didn't care enough.
And then there's a couple things which I'm labeling as probably got cut out in an edit. And that was, for one, where did the base unit came from that came down the stairs to Clara? Again, this can be also, written off to cinematic horror, but those base units were never shown to fly, they were never shown to teleport. And that room and that house was deserted before the girl came down the stairs, except for Clara. So where did it come from?
And I would just presume that they just teleport. Like,
Never.
There are other times where a base station comes out of nowhere. I would just that would just be my thing.
That was never established, though. That was my that might have been a deleted scene.
Right.
And then the other one was, of course, the fact that the first time the Doctor had to remove Clara from the getting downloaded, it required the base station to be right there, within X amount of distance. And then when the mass download occurred, it just happened.
Mm.
It would have been nice for them to say, yeah, it's a different setup or something, but it's just, those are the only two things that just kind of picked at me, and I can just kind of shrug on those.
Right.
And say those were probably just cut.
Cut for time, cut for pacing.
Yeah, cut for time, cut for pace, cut for budget. Because, it might have been, a picture of when he did that, suddenly having these base stations stream out the data in those areas would have been kind of cool. But also kind of expensive. And, God knows what the budget from the mill was on this already.
Right. As I said, this is where the budget of the first four, or at least episodes 2, 3, and 4 went.
Mm-hmm. Although I do feel like we were a bit cheapened when we discovered that the "Run You Clever Boy and Remember" that we've been dealing with all season was just a way for Clara to remember her password to the internet.
Yeah. You know what though? There actually was a moment in this episode where it kind of struck me as, oh, they don't have the budget to do that, do they? And that's the anti-grav motorbike.
Yeah, it would have been
the way they shoot it.
Him zoom up the thing.
Yeah, we never got a shot of him the motorcycle actually leaving the ground. We just got reaction shot. Can he do that? Reaction shot, and he's climbing up the thing.
It would be so much more difficult to get a practical shot of him actually either making especially making the 90-degree turn, or even going up the building from the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, this is I just like to see this as an example because there's this really horrible tendency now to say the classic series had no budget and the new series has a great budget. The new series actually doesn't have a great budget, and this is an example of that. If this were a film, a full budgeted film, you would see everything from the motorcycle leaving the ground to crashing through the office.
Actually, it had more of it has less of a budget than it used to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's due to the BBC cutbacks.
Started up, it had far more money compared to this right now. This last couple of years, yeah, but it's had very little money.
By used to, are you saying David Tennant era, or are you saying...
yeah, I'm saying I noticed the budget cutback around the beginning of the Moffat era.
So, for a second, I thought you were comparing the budget to, like, the Tom Baker era or something.
No. We're talking about the current run of the series. There has been a major budget cut.
There's reasoning behind that, too.
It was back then.
In fact, pretty much every BBC show has had its budget cut back in the last few years.
Right.
And that's because, of course, their government has actually stopped co-funding the BBC in most things, so they've had to cut back on their budget. In fact, Doctor Who has a larger budget than most BBC shows because it's... What's that?
Because it's their flagship show, really.
No, because it's a co-production, so they get some of their funding from BBC America.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So they got money coming in from two locations that allows them to do a greater budget.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They've also got money coming in from anywhere that sells action figures, sonic screwdrivers.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They got merchandising.
Sells. I mean, they're not on the Star Wars, Tokusatsu, Ninja Turtles level, but
they're getting there.
I think they will get there, especially without the government funding. But they're not there yet because that's never the mentality that Who really.
Oh yes, we'll see the merchandising. Doctor Who the bed sheets.
Yeah,
Doctor Who the action figure, and Doctor Who the flamethrower. The kids love it.
Unlike the ones that I referenced, Doctor Who was not created in 1960 by someone saying, "How can we sell screwdrivers to kids?"
Right.
That's pretty much how every show since 1980 has almost come out.
Yeah, pretty much.
It pisses me off when I hear about a show that gets canceled, though, because even though it was getting good ratings, because action figures weren't selling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of bull.
There's been 2 or 3 shows I've been watching that's happened, and I'm just like, no.
But see, my response to that is especially nowadays, sell things to the adult audience. Put it on a mug. Make a couple $100,000 off of that. Put it on a lamp, make another couple $100,000.
Mouse pads. I'm still looking for a decent mouse pad, people.
Now, a kid's property on pretty much anything, and it'll fly off the shelves.
No. The couple of things I was talking about were actually cartoons. One of which was the remake of Thundercats that came out a couple years ago.
What?
Ratings were decent. Action figures weren't selling. It's gone.
That's exactly what I mean. when that was relaunched, I didn't see any Thundercats merchandise on ThinkGeek. I didn't see any advertisements for it on Amazon. You're gonna make nowadays. I think you're gonna make more money on that than action figures. I might be wrong, but I think that's where you should put at least some of that merchandising.
It depends on the show. There are some shows that have a wider adult following,
yeah,
but
you
they're
can't
usually the exception.
You can't tell me Thundercats does not have a following of people in their late 20s.
Oh, they probably do, but
they have a huge following in their late 20s.
Kids following at that point. I don't know.
And the thing is that, also the 20, 30-year-olds that are rewatching for the nostalgia value probably already have their old action figures or have bought them off of, like eBay.
Right. Whereas if you start selling, if you put out, a series of 12 different mouse pads, I think Matt mentioned mouse pads, or mugs like the Doctor Who mugs, or even Thundercats wall lamps.
And that's the problem, is that people are still selling the classic merchandise like that. You can look around online, you can find a mug with the Thundercats logo on it. I'm pretty sure there's probably been one that showed up on The Big Bang Theory.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
So, Doctor Who.
Yeah. But no, I mean, the BBC has never really had to merchandise before.
Right.
And, in fact, there used to be a stipulation in their charter contract that said they couldn't.
Daleks were probably the main thing that they merchandised.
Yes. Doctor Who was the show that was able to break them out of that mold.
A vast virus database.
And they were only really able to do a limited merchandising run. I'm not sure, but I think that particular stipulation has been yanked from their contract when their money got yanked, if not.
Right, that makes sense.
Because they have to now make their money someplace. Mm-hmm. And they're not ready to start actually showing commercial breaks on the BBC. The British will probably spit out their tea in protest.
I know BBC America has commercial breaks.
Yeah, that's BBC America, and they force feed us that.
BBC America, though, is an American cable production company.
Of course,
our TV is sponsored by ad companies, so the whole reason we have TV is because they pay for it. Britain has a TV tax, where if you have cable at your house, you have to pay a certain tax.
This makes, of course, the BBC the equivalent of PBS.
Basically.
Yeah. As far as money, where the money comes from, and versus advertising space.
I just can't imagine seeing John Barrowman have sex with a guy on PBS.
I'm not talking as far as ratings and morality, no. The BBC is much the equivalent of CBS or NBC there as far as its programming style.
Right.
But as far as how it works, the BBC is actually supposed to be an adjunct of the government.
Yes. Which is also why it's part of the thing with their programming that's rather interesting, and this is how a large part of how Doctor Who initially got started is it was less. TV was then the BBC was thought of less as a method of entertaining people and more a public service. You had to put on programs there that appealed to certain people, that filled a gap, and that were public service programs, which is why Doctor Who started as an educational program.
It was edutainment. It was an early experiment in edutainment.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's also interesting, Top of the Pops started as, they realized, we need to show popular music. But because of that contract was you can't influence public tastes, you can only cater to them. So, as a result, the Top of the Pops could only show what was number one of the charts, meaning that a lot of things that wouldn't get shown in America, because we were worried about it being too offensive, would get shown regularly on Top of the Pops because they had to, basically, by their contract. But anyway, that's how the BBC works.
Also, of course, the difference between American morality and Europe morality.
Mm-hmm. What we consider
to be offensive material and what they consider to be offensive material. Two separate things. And then there's what Australia considers to be offensive material.
Which a lot of Australians are going, piss off about.
Every country has their own opinion on what's offensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know particularly profanity is much more lenient in Britain than it is here.
Actually, it's been a lot. It's been getting a lot looser here over the last few years.
Oh yes. But I mean, like Monty Python can get away with a lot swear words than Americans.
I remember when Star Trek first aired in the U.S., people were shocked that McCoy got away with saying "damn it."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now it seems these days you get away with anything on primetime TV that's not the F-bomb.
You can get away with one F-bomb usually. But then you'd have to sacrifice a couple of other swears throughout the episode.
So it's different now, and swearing morality has changed. But that's in America, where stuff has established elsewhere is becoming different. People will keep pushing that border.
Of course, what's also it doesn't just vary by country. It also varies by medium. What's interesting. Right. Broadway, this is weird. Broadway is the most progressive medium we have, and I think it's film or TV is the least progressive.
That's because Broadway is it's not widely broadcast. It's a group of people that pay to come into a private establishment. That's just it's like a private club. They can get away with a lot of things because nobody's seeing it except the people.
If you're offended by it, you don't want to see it. Don't pay to go see it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That's definitely part of it. But it's like this is a weird example, but you can kind of see the differences in how much more progressive certain mediums are than others. In that, in Pajama Game, which is an old musical from the 50s. In the musical, she took off her dress at one point and was just wearing a slip. In the movie, that scene was cut. Because you couldn't have a woman wearing her slip in film. It was just, no, you can't do that. The 50s, how dare you. There's a lot of implied sex in Broadway that was cut out for the film versions and all of that. Anyway.
Yeah. And in these days on Broadway, there are some plays that are happening with actors being entirely in the nude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, there are some shows that the whole reason they were successful is because they had one of the actresses bare her breasts at some point. I think Dracula was the musical that tried that.
Yeah, I just remember hearing some interviews with some Broadway people one time, probably on Letterman or Craig Ferguson or something.
Right.
But yeah, one person that talked about how they were in a Broadway play where everybody was entirely nude, and it's like
or hair.
That'll never get away on TV unless it's HBO.
Hair is like renowned for the nudity. Where at the end of the show, literally everyone gets naked and runs for the audience.
Now
that's how the show ends.
Knowing nothing else about Hair, all I can say is the name and being renowned for the nudity conjures frightening images.
No, the song is literally about the hair on your head. Nowhere else.
Says you.
I'm just imagining bears, for those familiar with the term, just running across the stage.
Nah, well, no, the writers just wanted to make sure at the end that you knew the carpet matched the drapes. Anyway, now that I've offended the 3 people we have listening,
hi!
We can go back to Doctor Who.
Right, so, quite a bit of little things to mention in this episode. I think the earliest one, well, actually, let me start with a miniature theme, and that is that despite this being a good episode, Moffat is a little full of himself, and there's probably 2 specific things that, well, you could almost say 3, but 2 specific things that I would say I'm referring to there, and that is the whole monks are not cool line, which, by the way, that's probably extremely offensive to monks, but other than that...
I don't know, they don't have TV.
Woman let you in the front door. No, I think, dressing up like... And then again...
No,
you have to remember your Doctor Who history. And one of the first Doctor's once recurrent enemies was the meddling monk.
Yep.
True, but I'm
more thinking 2 episodes.
I'm just wondering if that monks are not cool line was actually meant as an in-joke.
It was. And same thing with the Mad Monk.
I was more referring to the wording of the line with this whole, such and such is cool thing that is a huge. It's asked me in every. I'm pretty sure every MoFat Penned episode. I don't think there's a MoFat Penned episode where he doesn't call something cool.
Probably, but I mean that actually is. I mean, I think the reason for that line existing, because this is obvious, is that it does establish Eleven's childish nature.
I'll admit it wouldn't annoy me so much if it weren't all over the internet about
which line?
Ubiquity is kind of
the whole cool line.
Yeah. It's really its ubiquity that kills it for me, and I kind of groaned a bit at that line too.
I don't know. I like it every now and again. I just think it's overused.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, if he had said, I'm not a monk anymore, monks are not cool, I would probably elicit a full face palm. If going with the whole, I wear such and such now, such and such is cool. If he had done the whole line with it, it probably would have needed a face palm.
Yeah, and then, part of that same scene is the bit where he gets dressed and throws away his old coat. So the first time since the beginning, he's not wearing a coat he stole out of a bin in a hospital. And then he pulls out a bow tie.
In a box.
Oh, yeah.
In a box.
Okay.
And I'm looking at this going, I'm the doctor. I wear a clip-on now, because clip-ons are cool.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I would love to see a scene where he actually ties a bow tie. Like, I don't know, it would just feel like
he did in 11th Hour.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He tied, you watched him tie a bow tie?
Yes.
At least partial of the way, yes.
Yeah.
I thought he had regular ties in his hand. They showed
they show him starting to put on the short bow tie, and then he's just finishing it. They cut away for a moment, and he's just finishing it at the end of it.
Oh, okay.
What I found interesting about that little sequence, with particularly him pulling out the box and it has the bow tie, I thought it was just a bit silly.
It was a bit silly.
But it's missing. It's part of the outfit.
I think what makes it what makes it too silly for me is the direction. Like I can actually imagine an older doctor like Baker or McCoy actually doing something like that, where you grab a box and it has something silly like a bow tie in it. But they would have you wouldn't have had the camera do a zoom in close. Oh, it's the bow tie. You would have just had it kind of be offhand, be in the shot, but you don't really notice it, and then they cut it away and whatever. If they had kind of done it a bit more offhand, like he pulls out a box and you cut to him having the bow tie, it being implied the bow tie was in this special box, it wouldn't have been as silly as the camera doing a massive crane shot. Bow tie! It is here! With doing the bow tie music!
Yeah, I didn't have that much of a problem
with it. It was a bit hammy, is what you're trying to say.
Is it just me, or did that bow tie look like an antique? Like it was supposed to imply that, throughout however many 100 years of the 11th Doctor, that's the same bow tie that's been in that.
And it's obviously not, because it's a different color than the original bow tie.
Whereas, it doesn't look like weather aged.
I don't know. I didn't
really. It's supposed to be like an antique, hundreds-of-year-old bow tie in the box.
It really didn't look like that. No. And that's the thing. I mean, during Matt Smith's reign, we must have seen a couple dozen bow ties at least.
At least.
Yeah.
I know it's about the same as Tennant. I think had at least a dozen or so different neckties.
Oh yeah, Tennant had a lot of neckties.
So what's the thing about pulling out that bow tie?
Right.
I would have loved to see him run down a corridor of the TARDIS, open a door, and there's an entire room filled with different kinds of ties.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Or alternately, he goes in, oh my God, I have no bow tie. Has to take the TARDIS to the nearest, tailor or whatever, to pick out a bow tie before he can go back to Clara.
That's going a little bit far.
Yeah, but it would have fit the character too.
Yeah, I still like the room full of ties, because we know the TARDIS has a huge, massive wardrobe.
Which reminds me, his wardrobe was in the console room.
That I can understand if he ditched it for the monk robe, And
Yeah,
just
they don't really explain it,
I
so I
kinda
can
saw
see it
that
as him
the
just putting away his
emergency
current
officer.
stuff for a little while.
It's like if he ditched it for the one, specifically for the monk robe, like for a mission. Usually, you see clothes strewn about the console room of the TARDIS, like it's somebody's bedroom. So
but it looks like he kind of put stuff away for because he apparently spent some time as the monk.
Right.
I see that as the
Apparently
emergency costume reserve, where you have the big room, and then there's this like, for a quick change, you have this little console right here.
Is this the first time we've seen the Doctor paint?
That I can recall.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I think there was
something
else.
I don't know, because the image of Tom Baker painting something seems so right, but I don't actually remember it ever happening.
That's the same thing. Like, I could see Sylvester McCoy painting, and it would work, but I don't think it happened.
I remember Turlo painting.
But...
I remember Turlo painting, but that's the only time I remember people painting.
I did not remember Tom Baker painting going backwards through Tom Baker's episodes.
Well, unless you count Sharpieing, this is a fake on...
No, I'm not counting Sharpieing.
No. That's not painting. That's writing. He's ruining art.
But that whole scene was a bit hammy.
Did you listen to our last podcast, or did you just have that on the tip of your mind anyway?
On the tip of my mind.
So the other reason I was saying Mofat's a little big with himself was, and of course this is an episode, this was a line that I missed the first time I went through. I saw so many people referencing it on the internet. I looked for it when I went back. 11's the coolest. You'll cry your eyes out. Of course, in universe, she's referring to the book that Amy wrote, which is actually available as an ebook on randomhouse.co.uk. But looking at that line, from an outside perspective, as somebody who watches the show and is not inside the show, it's.
By the way, you did pick up on the author of that book, didn't you?
Yeah, I said that Amy wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Amelia Williams. I don't. Does the stream already have the image? No, I'll go ahead and send this in.
Oh, also something. Apparently, this was in the Snowman, or her tombstone in the Snowman, or something. Apparently, she was born November 23rd, died age 26.
Did we get the year? Was it 1863 or was it a different year?
I don't know. But age 26, meaning that's the age of the classic series when it quote-unquote died. So, given that this is the 50th, I almost feel like that's leading into something, but at the same time it could just be Moffat going, oh, I'll make a clever little, a cute little reference here, and that's it. So it's either a cute reference, or this could actually be something. But, at this point, we don't know.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see if anything else gets built on that.
Of course, speaking of which, there's always the potential that the woman in the shop who gave her the doctor's number could be either Amy River or somebody else. By the way, Matt, I sent you a link to that.
I was thinking it was What's-Her-Face, Mockingbird. What's-Her-Face from Blink. It's the only person we know in a shop.
Oh, that's true, too.
Awesome.
Right.
That's
River makes
a very nice
sense
throwback.
Knowing Moffat, but that's also a possibility.
Matt, I sent you a link for.
Yeah, it was like, who else would be working in a shop? Woman, shop, woman.
And what are you trying to tell me, Bill?
On Skype, I sent a link of Amy's book for the stream on the Random House website.
Sally Sparrow, that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Sally Sparrow was the main female in Blink, and she wound up working in that movie shop with who became her boyfriend, essentially.
Right. And of course she had to.
Actually, she was
meet the doctor and everything before she could move on and date.
She might have been Sally Nightingale by then, because his name was Larry Nightingale. So I was twice right. Hey, cool. But yeah, she's my lead for if that was a reference to anybody in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Or
it'll be something we'll find out later in the series. You never know.
Then again, she wouldn't. Well, unless the doctor gave. Yeah, and then again, the doctor could always go back and
song. I'm going to gag slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, do we have anything else to say about the episode then?
I think we got a bit. Mostly have tangented more than actually going into the episode.
That's
yeah.
Pulled out the Fez. It's nice to see the Fez again for a short period of time, and it was actually used for something.
Okay, I appreciate the fact that he didn't overplay the Fez.
Yes.
It came up twice.
I loved that bit where they go out and it's like he's a street magician. I loved that.
Yeah, Fox. He pulls out the Fez out of nowhere and starts waving it around to get money.
Yeah.
Then when he's done, he turns it upside down and there's no cash in it, and he puts it on some kid's head.
From what I understand, the reason for that scene was that there is an actual police box or a replica or something at that actual location, and that's why they did that. I haven't verified that, but I did see a mention of that on the internet.
As far as I'm aware, no. As far as I'm aware, there's only one functioning police box in the London area right now.
Well, yeah, I think it was the person who I saw posting about it was saying was referring it to as a TARDIS being there. So I'm thinking like a replica or something.
So probably while he was there, he just wanted to fix the chameleon circuit and do some. What is it? Shoot. I'm trying to make a Logopoulos reference here, but I forgot the terminology. Oh well.
I don't even know where you're trying to go with that. Okay.
What is it? It's something block programming.
Block transfer computation.
Yes, block transfer computations. There we go. Oh well.
That's the trivia boy.
Still,
but
I don't get. Never mind.
I would say that was. I don't even know if you call it an actual problem, but the idea that the doctor who's trying to evade escape after going out of his way for years to cut himself out of the public memory, appearing and doing a street show with the TARDIS in broad view of everybody in broad daylight.
Yeah.
Meh.
Well, it materialized. It was there. He was improvising.
Yeah, I really liked it. Yes, magic police.
Yes, magic box. Yeah.
Tomorrow a camel.
Oh, he comes out with a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I have to go to the garage. Just a minute.
I have to say something for the record now. God damn you, Moffat! You took my idea. Okay, I'm done. I've said it.
Which idea was this?
I actually wanted to give, in one of my writings, the Doctor a motorcycle.
Well, we've already confirmed the fact that he has a motorcycle way back. Idiot's Lantern, in fact.
No,
it was also in the TV movie, and he's ridden one before in... What is it?
Oh, no, he didn't give it to Rose. He gave it to the kid, I think.
Yeah, that was a moped, not a motorcycle.
He also had a motorcycle in the TV movie, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He stole it from a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun.
Speaking of the Idiot's Lantern, though, am I the only person who sees this episode as a reinterpretation of not so much the family side of the plot, but the monster side of the plot of the Idiot's Lantern?
Yeah, a little bit, but this is
something trying to leech people's personalities and memories and stuff. Yeah.
For me, it was like Moffat, or during the hiatus, sat down and watched The Ring, and that kind of turned into his idea for this. The whole thing of it'll kill you in 24 hours. So he might have watched The Ring, and then he might have watched The Idiot's Lantern, and just kind of went to sleep and had this hybrid cook up in his brain. Either way, it works wonderfully.
It does.
For once, it doesn't feel like he kind of tried to rush his writing.
Right. It definitely feels like he put a lot of effort into this.
It feels...
all like the little things that we've mentioned kind of show that anyway.
Mm-hmm. It feels snappy and finished, and it's not like he sat there and went, ooh, Statue of Liberty Angel.
Right. Oh, speaking of the right of this, I want to say, this goes to people of the school of thought that the entire season of Trial of the Time Lord would be counted as one serial, and that is, if you're going to approach anything with that mindset, you might as well say that this is part 2 of a 6-parter, and I don't buy that.
Part 2 of a 6-parter?
Because this is essentially a long arc about Clara and about the Great Intelligence. So anybody
6-parter?
How many more episodes? This is episode
1 of 6. And so it would be at least a 7-parter, 8-parter if the 50th anniversary special's involved.
Okay. I didn't sit down and count before saying that. Thank you for poking a hole through my entire sentence.
Of course, the logic that they would counter with is the fact that these are different episode names where Trial of Time Lord was broadcast under one episode title.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes people want to treat it as one story.
Each different production code. So the names that they come through are only from the novelization or the VHS or the DVD or whatever. The name.
Correct, pretty much.
Ah. Okay, that was something I hadn't known.
Yes. It is broadcast as Trial of Time Lord Parts 1 through 14.
Gotcha.
But it is 4 different stories.
3.5 stories.
Call it 3. I would argue 4 just because the idea was the last 2 were supposed to be connected in some way. They're really not.
3 and an epilogue.
And a 2-parter. But they are the same production code. So.
It's an epilogue more than it is a story.
A little bit, yeah. So it basically is just, here's what's been going on. We will wrap it all up for you, entirely unsatisfactorily.
It's given its own name, but it does have the same production code as prior. So you can consider it a 3-parter and a 2-parter, or a single 5-parter.
4-parter and 2-parter.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
I wish that Terror of the Verb Boys was just a 3-parter, but it is unfortunately 4 parts.
I wish the Terror of the Verboids hadn't been written, or at least somebody signed the monsters.
Yeah.
Those things were horrible. and I'm not even going to remind you what they looked like.
Too late.
Someone online commented, it's the perfect Doctor Who monster. It looks like both a penis and a vagina.
Well, if they're going to go by that, then they should use those creatures from Prometheus.
Those just look like vaginas.
Replicating.
After they open, but before they open, they're entirely phallic.
Not really. Upside down phallic, maybe.
Well, they were snakes. Phallic in nature. Anyway, Bells of St. John.
Anybody not offended at this point, just let us know.
My 2 biggest concerns about this episode, being the quote-unquote spoonheads, and being about how Clara's been a little bit, I'd say, overwritten in that she's been a little in your face in the past, to the point where I was concerned she'd be ruined as a character. I'd say both of those concerns were assuaged by this. The word spoonheads was only used once in the episode.
Yes, thank God.
And the person who heard it pretty much was like, "Don't call them that."
Yeah, I love that little sequence where it's should we kill him? Yeah. Well, hold on. He's got his vacation in a couple days. We'll kill him after the vacation. Let's not be cruel.
Yeah, it's just like that's when it's like the epitome of corporate evil.
Yeah.
I'm
this actually had a lot of really great lines. There was a lot of really memorable and great lines in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And Moffat usually does have some good ones, but there's something different about the ones here. Or like, they didn't make me groan, I guess. And they didn't sound like Moffat trying to make a good line, I guess.
Yeah, it's like this came naturally to him as opposed to being forced, which, reinforces my opinion that Moffat is really best as a 1 to 2 story a season writer, as opposed to trying to crank out an opening, a 2-parter in the middle, and a closing, and the Christmas special, and taking a look and integrating everyone else's work into the overall storyline.
Right.
I think that just is a little too much for him to do all at once, so eventually stuff starts sagging.
I do like the fact that apparently at some point he got the idea that, the same concerns I did about Clara being too in your face to eventually become, another River song or something, to the point where her personality hasn't changed, but she's human enough that she's shocked when she goes into the TARDIS. And that's something that we have not had from Clara yet, and arguably this could be a prologue Clara to the others. We don't know that yet. But at the very least, she has a much more natural reaction when she goes into the TARDIS, even if she's flirting with the Doctor the entire episode.
She does seem to bang on about the fact that he seems kind of almost child rapey.
Yeah, I really did.
The whole get in my box thing.
I didn't like where the snog box thing. I thought
parts of it were amusing. Like I did like this exchange where he's like, it's not a snog box, and she's like, I'll be the judge of that, and he's like, starting when? And she's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's possible that that's the entire thing. Of course, it really won't explain on how she died twice.
No, it won't. But what I would completely love is the irony. First of all, this would be a bootstrap paradox within a bootstrap paradox, but, well, I'm thinking bootstrap. I might be thinking grandfather. Anyway, paradox, but let me explain what I'm trying to say before I try and use terminology. The idea that the great intelligence's creation would be what gave Clara the intelligence to do what was done in Asylum of the Daleks, which allowed the Doctor to survive and escape from that episode, to therefore interfere with his plans and cause everything else. I feel like I had more to this thought, but I'm trying to remember what it was now.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what you are. Just for your information, Bill, a bootstrap paradox is something like Time Crash or Blink, where the information itself is actually looped back and forth through time with no actual origin.
That's right. So,
yeah, I'm not sure what you're going for, and to be honest, I'm still not really seeing where you're trying to make all these Claras the same one.
There was another branch to this thought, but I'm trying. But if I remember,
his train of thought derailed somewhere in Ohio. Rescue crews are on the way. Yeah.
Anywho.
But, yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the whole Clara conundrum.
Yeah.
Which, of course, I really hope it's not something insanely stupid like they're all related. Like, if it's that, I'm just gonna, that's just lazy. Beforehand, I was going to say that if this episode didn't work, I was about ready to start writing letters to the BBC asking for Moffat to step down and replace somebody who actually has ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm willing to give this a shot. I'm happy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's finally not writing her into a River Song character, so okay, right. Proceed forward carefully, Moffat.
Well, he has a few episodes where he doesn't have to do anything now.
Still, he could end up still doing it.
Of course, I am slightly concerned because some of the episodes coming up are not written by my people I like. So that's where...
Well, there's no Chibnall either, though, so we can be thankful for that.
Yeah, but even so, it's still...
Who are these people? Why are they writing Doctor Who?
Mm-hmm. Gaddis, I don't particularly care for, but he writes okay episodes, so... there's that. And then it's Diamond, who I liked Doctor's Wife. And I'm interested to see what he does with the Cybermen.
I'm actually worried about Neil Cross.
I'm trying to look up his
has he written anything else for Doctor Who?
He has before, yes.
Why am I not seeing it on his Wikipedia? I'm seeing Doctor Who there, but I'm not seeing a list of episodes or anything.
Let me look at Shannon Sullivan. They're usually good with this stuff. I remember seeing that there, but I didn't think he had actually...
No, I'm sorry, he hasn't written before, but okay. He's basing a lot of what he's writing on the last half season, and that worries me. But yeah.
Oh, and Stephen Thompson is returning, who wrote Curse of the Black Spot.
Neil Cross, by the way, wrote his own series called Luther, which was a crime drama. I have not seen it, so I don't know. I'm just worried about him because he's not a name I know. And really, he's coming off the bat writing 2 of the episodes this half season.
Right.
Yeah.
The upcoming episode next, The Rings of Akhenaten and Hyde. So I'm kind of like, okay, if he's good, we don't have a problem. If he's bad, that's a third of this half series right there down the toilet. Gaddis is 2 episodes this half series too. Cold War, which means if he writes crap, then the Ice Warriors are going to be crap. And
I mean, usually his stuff is, with the exception of Victory, which was awful. And his stuff is usually mediocre. So
yeah, and the Crimson Horror, by the way, will be seeing the return of Vestra, Jenny, and Strax.
And which,
like I felt, were not properly implemented in the Snowmen.
Right.
They didn't have enough, dialogue stuff to do for 3 whole people, I felt.
The impression I'm getting is that the Crimson Horror is largely going to be a setup for the season finale, with the Cybermen happening kind of in between.
I don't know. I don't think this finale is going to be a finale so much as a setup for the 50th.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if this is going to be a lead-in to the 50th anniversary special. And the 50th anniversary special may not even be a finale, but a standalone big part episode that's still going to wind up leading into the Christmas special, which will be a month later.
Awesome. Do we know if Vastra, Strax, or Jenny are going to be in the 50th?
No, we don't have a full list for the 50th anniversary special.
We just know at this point
all we know about the 50th is that Matt Smith, David Tennant, Billy Piper, John Hurt, and Jenna Louise Coleman are going to be there.
Yeah, Joanna Page, Ken Bones, and Orlando Jones. And only 2
and
of those...
it's directed by Nick Curran, which is good. It's good.
We know that Ken Bones is playing a character called the General. Orlando James is playing Lord Bentham. And, of course, the Matt Smith and David Tennant are playing the Doctors. Billy Piper's playing Rose Tyler, and Jenna Louise Coleman's playing Clara. John Hurt
we don't know for sure.
Has not been announced. Joanna Page has not been announced.
We don't know for sure if it's the Time Lord Doctor or the Human Doctor, right?
Well, it could be.
Yeah, that's something to point out, too.
I mean,
although I would really hate it if they broke open that dimension again.
There would be, actually, yeah, they wouldn't necessarily need,
I'm kind of hoping that they wind up pulling the 10th Doctor out of his time stream during his second series, essentially.
Yeah.
Or during the first series of Tennant, yeah. Instead of pulling out the Human Doctor, because that would just be like, no.
That is dragging something out that needed to be left behind.
Yeah.
That should be officially done.
I felt when I heard that Billy Piper was going to be in this. I was like, no.
I hope they just do something like accidentally crossing TARDISes or whatever and intercept their timeline at some point. That would be how I would prefer to do it.
So,
I would love to see if the 2 of them show up on a planet at the same time. And wind up having to deal with this crisis. They're both theory, but it's important.
Wasn't it announced, though, that, like, oh shoot, what was it? Something. One of the plots for one of the upcoming episodes is that the Doctor's finding out that his friends are being displaced and taking... Oh, what was the summary? I need to find it. Hold on, let me find it. I'll let you know when
while you're doing that, some recent news, things that have been confirmed. Christopher Eccleston has declined to return.
Surprise nobody.
There's mention of possibilities of using archive footage, so everybody can go ahead and make one joke about that.
It's like Tom Baker all over again.
Yeah, as I think I said in the comments, they'll just pull episodes from the unaired 14th episode, stick them in a time eddy, pull out a waxwork figure for publicity photos. No one will ever know.
What I said was they could have Paul McGann regenerate midway and just blur his face for the rest of the special.
No, everyone's gonna scream bullshit.
He'll have a leather jacket hide half of his face.
And we're not going to pull Plan 9 from outer space.
And Sylvester McCoy apparently has
actually, though, that thing that Eccleston has pulled out came from the Daily Star, and is therefore from a tabloid media, and therefore may not be true. The BBC is categorically denying it.
True. If it's only from a tabloid source, then what's the source they're going from?
Yeah,
that BBC is trying to hide it?
Digital spy that Eccleston was never attached to the project in the first place.
Okay.
We'll wait and see. Again, the BBC, admittedly for very good reasons, is trying to keep the 50th hush-hush.
Not the fact that he pulled out, but the fact that the fact that he was ever in it in the first place is what the BBC's denying. Yeah,
this is what the BBC's saying. Chris met with Stephen Moffat a couple of times to talk about Stephen's plans for the Doctor Who 50th anniversary special. After careful thought, Chris decided not to be in the episode. He wishes the team all the best. That really would see that he was, that was during the writing phase.
And David Tennant's news site, tennantnews.blogspot, has a confirmation from Sylvester McCoy that none of the classic Doctors, anyone from Baker through McGann, none of them have been contacted about appearing. So, if you want them, you're going to want to go Big Finish. If you want the new guys, the two new guys are going to be the ones on TV.
Okay. Yeah, I really wish they could have brought in some of the... I would have loved to see McGann, especially, get some more actual screen time.
Well, more classic Who, damn it. It's all part of continuity.
It would have been nice to see, Tom Baker and the Brigadier's daughter or something meet on screen or something.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see Tom, but really, Tom is pushing the edge of it.
Right. I mean, any of them really, but I think Tom worked more closely with the Brigadier than any of the other surviving Doctors.
Only for the first season or two, but...
Yeah, but McCoy had one episode with him. Mm-hmm. Davison had a part of an episode. Two,
yeah, Modern Undead.
Okay, so he had an episode and a special kind of with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think
the sixth
Colin ever met him.
Yeah. But no, I would have loved to see McGann, considering he is the Doctor with the least actual screen time.
Right.
Yet the most actual material.
Yeah, if you want to argue that he's a new Who Doctor, I mean, you could certainly get away with that. He's definitely post
the original stop.
Yeah, I would just love to have him get some more actual screen time so they can quit using stock footage from the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially since the actor himself hates the wig he had to wear in that movie.
Yeah.
So get him something different to look at.
Well, the reason he had to wear that wig, too, was the fact that his hair was extra short after coming off filming Alien 3.
Yeah, he had just been shaved for Alien 3. So, I would say that Doctor Who turned out to be the better movie of the two, though.
Yes. Doctor Who is salvageable.
Alright, apparently the premise for the final episode is someone is kidnapping the Doctor's friends, leading him towards the one place in all of time and space he should never go.
So it's a remake of the Five Doctors?
That's what people are thinking, is that it's going to lead into the same way that Five Doctors did.
I don't know where you're getting that information.
I'm double-checking the source.
Because thus far, all we've seen thus far is that's been confirmed is that the Zygons will feature in some capacity.
This is the episode confirmed for the final series. The final series.
Oh.
Yeah, the final episode of this series, not the 50th.
Oh,
nothing's been revealed for the 50th besides Zygons.
Except for the fact that Matt Smith has also hinted that paintings will be involved in some way. He let that slip during a TV interview with Jonathan Ross.
But
that's all we know.
Paintings. So many paintings.
And yeah, we don't really have much for the finale this year. Its name is still even to be announced.
Yeah,
Right.
the place I'm looking still says untitled finale. So let me double check. I was looking at a forum where they got their source from somewhere, and I'm not sure where the source is, so I'm double checking to make sure it's true. Doctor Who series.
But I guess we're kind of already sort of done talking about this, aren't we? And we are closing in our 2 hour mark.
It would be nice for us to have
Actually,
more
we're at an
details,
hour and
but
a
it
half.
seems since we didn't really have much in the way of disagreements, there wasn't really much in the way of details to bring up unless we're going to do a play-by-play of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We all loved it. Woohoo. Way to go, Moffat. You actually did something that I didn't hate.
Yeah.
That I have to kill you for.
We won't have to kill you for this one, Moffat. We're watching you, though.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Okay.
Steven, if
This
a
is
bunch of
confirmed.
pinstripe goons come knocking on your door, tell them I said that they could cut it out.
So, this
No,
is
their
on
check is in the
Wikipedia,
mail.
and so I'm checking the sources they have on Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
But the same premise is printed on Wikipedia, and most likely is from probably Doctor Who magazine, which is where they're giving the sources. So,
And
yes.
Doctor Who magazine probably won't tell where their sources are from, so...
Well, Doctor Who magazine is a source. That is an actual source for...
Yeah, that's an official source. That's officially published, Matt. I used to have a subscription. I don't anymore, because I'm broke.
Yes.
Welcome to my
and
world.
it
Yes,
also-
yes, you all can send money.
You all can send money to us and
It
the
says
podcast
final-
at this address.
The final episode will also have Strax, Vaster, and Jenny. And new monsters called the Whispermen and the Vigil or something, I think.
And yeah, that's the one also with River.
Yes.
So the only thing I'm saying right there is we already have at least 6 recurring characters.
Yeah, and as we've seen, Moffat has problems, I think, writing for more than 2 at a time.
Oh, great. Well, the end of this season's gonna be terrible.
No, the finale's going to be terrible. The rest of the season actually looks like it, depending on Neil Cross, might be fairly decent. Journey to the Center of the TARDIS is one that I actually do want to actually see. Because they're supposed to be giving us more TARDIS set, which I want.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you
by the
see,
way,
they found an abandoned hospital and they had to make some use of it.
yeah. By the way, new TARDIS console, we've seen more of it, or new console room, I should say. Opinions, anybody?
I like it just as much as I did originally, which was very, very much. So.
Yeah, it allayed some of my fears that it might be to Star Trek 1E Enterprise color drab.
Yeah, they at least have a variety of lights and stuff going on, and it's not all samey colors throughout.
Going on, what I liked about it, I mean, it does look good. It looks, it does harken back to the classic era without being as white as the classic era. What I don't like is that the newer ones, it felt easier to believe the whole idea of, it was a central room of a massive ship, that there were corridors going off in every direction. Whereas here, when they panned around, I mean, it probably has hidden doors that slide open as needed, but
there's stuff that goes down from the lower level that we've now seen.
Yeah.
Lower level?
Yeah, remember,
he
went under that console. There was a subfloor there.
I must have missed that.
He's done it a couple times now, including this episode.
Yeah.
Dude, that's why he pulled his clothes out.
The second time we've seen this room.
Dude, he was underneath the console when he pulled out his clothes.
Okay, I thought that was the regular console area. Okay.
It is. It's underneath the regular console area. There's a whole subfloor down there.
Okay.
So there might be corridors branching off from the subfloor.
Yeah, we didn't exactly get very hard looks at all of the backgrounds either, so there
he's
could be doors all over the place.
He's on the spot where Rory was standing when he was distracted by Amy standing above him.
More like where he was originally doing that wiring in the first place. Yeah. Or Rory would have been off to another position. But yes, there's a subfloor down there that we're actually establishing as being there.
And he apparently does it for quick, easy access storage.
I'm a little curious if they're ever going to establish maybe I mean, if anyone does, it would probably have to be in the finale with River, unless he picks up somebody else who's been in the TARDIS multiple times to just establish, is it a different room or is it a redecoration?
Changes the desktop pattern.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They did. Moffat did establish that in Time Crash.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay.
He changed the desktop theme to classic.
Yet at the same time, in the actual continuity, was it last season or the season before? In the actual Neil Gaiman episode, where they're running through the TARDIS, the console room from the Tennant era. So
yeah, which was that's actually another episode which you can see when you hear about it. That's another thing that indicates that this show has a smaller budget than we think. Is it was originally supposed to be a classic console room, but they didn't have the money to do one. They had to do the new one because they had that somewhere.
It would have been nice to have pulled out one of the classic console rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Which you think
also wanted
that's hard to do.
They also wanted the Ood thing to look different, but they didn't have money.
He wanted that to be a unique alien, but they didn't have the budget to make the costume.
Right.
So it turned out to be an Ood.
Yep.
Because they're Ood like that.
Which is kind of cool because at the same time we haven't seen that many Russell T Davies era monsters in the Moffat era. Albeit I do not want to see the Slovene anytime soon, but a few of the other ones would be nice.
Yeah.
I like the Scarecrows. The Scarecrows are creepy.
I wouldn't mind seeing something with the Jadoon, for instance.
Oh, the Jadoon too.
So, should we give ratings then?
Are we done?
I guess, yeah. This is about time for
I'm
ratings.
just trying to verify one thing. Since we're talking... What's up?
Before we go to ratings, I also want to talk about the Doctor's new outfit. Other than the fact that the bow tie scene was bad, but his new coat.
I like it.
It's dark.
It's nice. It's a nice color.
The longer coat.
A little bit longer, yeah.
I mean,
it's more of a frock coat than a sports jacket.
It's like it's more like it's more harkening back to more of the second Doctor, I think.
Second and third, I would say.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I was gonna say I think it's second with a little touch of third here and there.
Where do you see the third in it? Just out of curiosity.
It's more the cut of the coat and the fact that it's a reddish color, which is something very associated with third. He had a lot of red velvet sports coats and all that.
Yes, but they were bright red.
Well, yeah, but
he also had dark reds and dark greens and all this other stuff too. He never had the same coat.
But I also think that the cut of it is a little. It's more of a mix between what second had and what third had. Because third had a lot of coats, so.
Also, I'm looking at a picture right now, and you can almost. It's like a few steps away from having the thrilly bits from 3 as well.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the frills, and that's really what I think of when I think of the third Doctor coats. Is I think of the frill and the half cape.
I would say that or the black flashy, magician super spy type outfit.
I tend to, when I think third Doctor, I tend to think, and this is because my favorite season is 10, but I tend to think the green jacket he has through season 10 and the really, really cool one, the black one with red linings, typically what I think of when I think third.
Well, the black one is what he started off with, I think.
No, it was, that's just black and white, and he wears it in Green Death, and sometimes in season 11, where it's
the first one he had was black with a red lining. I've seen the episode recently. Believe me, it's black with a red lining.
Well, I know they're two different outfits. I'll find pictures of each outfit. And
I saw that episode like this weekend, Sunday, I believe. It was a red lining on that one. But
Hey, we hear you, Matt. Yeah.
There's red lining in cape, not in the actual coat.
I was just wondering if that was more of if there was any indicator in the change of outfit on what direction Moffat's looking at to make the Doctor go. Because we know he's been pulling his ideas from previous Doctors.
I still think that, for the most part, it's
Seems to have added a third layer.
11th is like a mix of 2nd, because that's what Matt Smith likes. 5th, because that's what Stephen Moffat likes. And then a little bit of new because he's more overtly childish in a way that the Doctor really hasn't been before. So yeah, a mix of 3.
Annoyingly childish.
Depending on how you think, how you look at it.
I'm sorry, he's been like a 10-year-old up till now with ADD. ADHD, excuse me. Yeah, he's been annoying the hell out of me. He doesn't seem to be as bad in this episode, which I like. I'm really hoping that Moffat does not write him into regressing.
Yeah, that'd be the #1 worry. Will the Doctor regress back to his childish ways again? Oh,
now,
Lordy.
Did you have something else you wanted to add, Bill, before we went to ratings?
No, I had actually misconstrued something I was reading on Wikipedia, so while you were talking, I was trying to figure out what exactly I was looking at, and I realized I had just misunderstood something. So my question is gone.
All right.
Oh, I'm looking at a picture here, and I'm seeing villains in the shattered glass.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's been...
That's the first time I've actually seen the picture close up, so it's like, oh...
Which
yeah, it's like there's an Ice Warrior in there, I think a Cyberman.
In what?
The publicity photo for Bells of St. John, which is the motorcycle crashing out of the shard with all these different shards of glass in the air. And there's villains in different shards of glass.
It's one part an ad for the Bells of St. John, it's another part ad for the entire half season.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's where the first image of the Ice Warrior was leaked. It was from that photo.
Yep. There's a couple other things in here. It's like,
So, are we ready for ratings?
I guess. Been aiming that way for like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add the thing about the wardrobe.
The wardrobe is tweaked. It's darker. He's actually got a third layer. He's got more than just a jacket and a shirt now. He's kind of got undercoat.
Okay. So, ratings. Who wants to go first? Anybody?
I'll go first. I loved it. The problems I had with it were so insignificant I don't even think about them. I would honestly give it a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
I really liked it. This is probably my favorite episode of the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Matt?
Oh. Very good episode, yes. Definitely for Moffat. Way better than what he's been putting out for a while now. Yeah, there are some little moments, but you can quickly ignore them as the show quickly moves along. I want to give it a 5. But at the same time, I'm also thinking, you know what? 11th hour is better, slightly better than this. So 4.5.
Okay.
I'm going to go the same way. I do enjoy this episode. It is one of the best episodes we've had in quite some time. It didn't blow me away in the way that a 5 out of 5 perfect episode would, and that's just because there wasn't that extra, oh my god, shocking kick that a 5 out of 5 would have, which is why I'm going to give it a 4.5. It's a very good episode, but not the stunningly brilliant that a 5 out of 5 would necessitate.
I'm with Bill and Matt on this. I love this episode, but there's a couple of hammy moments and a couple of questions that, should have been answered in the story that I suspect was cut out due to budget or just deleted scenes. And because of that, I am going to bounce it down to a 4.5 out of 5. So 5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5.
And that is undoubtedly the highest rating we've
had in a long time.
Yes.
Except for maybe I forget what the average on Unearthly Child was. If that was a 5 or not.
No, that was not. No.
I don't think it was a 5 average.
I think Mind Robber might have been higher, but I'm not sure.
No, because I don't think anyone gave Mind Robber a 5.
No, I think Mind Robber was a solid 4.
That's only one person gave it a 5. I think the average came to like a 4 or a 4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The average is like a 4.6. So.
Yeah, it's like about 4.6 for this one.
For the episode itself, most of us gave Unearthly a 5, though. and then lowered it down.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
we wanted to give it a 5, but then we gave the Caveman a terrible rating. That was a boring
right.
Yeah, and mind you, this is actually coming off one of our lowest ratings ever from the Snowmen.
Yeah.
For a minute, I thought you were going to mean City of Death. I was like, how did you rate that so low?
No. City of Death? I'm trying to remember what we rated that. I think that was in the 4 range, wasn't it?
It was in the 4s or the high 3s. There were some issues we came up with on it.
Right.
But in general, it was a pretty decent episode.
Yeah, it was. I think it came off as above average.
Yeah. And this one is definitely above average, but not spectacular just yet.
Yeah. Right. There's if you watch it with a critical eye, Flynn, you notice that there's some errors in City of Death that comes from the fact that Douglas Adams literally hammered it out in like 3 days.
Well,
literally, he hammered out in a weekend.
Yeah, it was rewritten. I mentioned that, but he basically was sitting in somebody's closet for 3 days writing it. I think like Graham Williams' closet. Graham Williams said he threw him in there, gave him a pot of coffee, waited 3 days, and grabbed the script. But it shows that there's just little holes here and there.
But it's not an episode killer, much like this episode as well.
Right. The thing with this episode is, it wasn't put in a place as to where it would have any reason or need to be a 5 out of 5 episode. But for what it was, in terms of bringing a new companion, even though we kind of knew her, a new companion into the TARDIS, setting up again, not a new threat, but a threat that we now know is going to be continuous. As a setup, it does what it needs to. It just doesn't really have any place being, a spot-on, awesome, shockingly brilliant episode. There's really not a place for that.
It does alleviate my fears that Clara was going to become the Doctor Who equivalent of Kenny.
Right.
That too, yeah.
Where she was going to come in and die every episode, and then the Doctor has to go find her again.
That's when I rewatched this. I forgot to see if her heart stopped beating when she got uploaded.
Really couldn't tell.
Alright, so we're done?
I think so. I think we don't have anything else. Tune in next week when we will discuss the episode coming up this Saturday, which is called...
I believe Rings of Akhaten?
The Rings of Akhaten. Akhaten sounds Egyptian. Well, we'll find out, won't we?
We'll find out, won't we? Yes, we'll find out soon.
But somehow I don't think Sutek will be there. Despite all.
If it does, then it's bringing back. Then it's confirmed that this series is just bringing back all the classic villains.
Yeah.
I would love to see Sutek.
There were some people who saw the images of the monsters in there and thought they looked like Draconians from Frontier in Space.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be. Yeah, we haven't really touched on those in a long time. But we'll know, those of us that will probably know within probably closer to 36 hours, and then we'll review it upcoming on Friday. Oh! Maybe we might be doing this earlier than Friday.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, go ahead and end the feed, and we'll discuss our...
Yes, that's all for this time.